All right, let's get right into it. Today, we're diving into a story that is just absolutely gripping. It's a story about love, about loss, and about the absolutely brutal lengths a father will go to just to protect his family. So let's just start with this one question, because it's at the heart of everything we're about to cover. What is the price of a promise? For most of us, it's about honor, right? But for David Elias, a regular high school history teacher, that price was going to be paid in blood, sweat, and yeah, broken bones. Take care of our babies. Imagine those being the last words your wife ever says to you. A simple, devastatingly profound command that, for David, became the only thing that mattered in his life. After she lost her 18-month battle with pancreatic cancer, Sarah was gone, and David was left with this promise he had to keep, no matter what it took. So to really understand the journey he went on, you first have to see the world that was shattered. I mean, David Elias had a pretty great life. He was a history teacher who loved his job, married to an amazing pediatric nurse, and a dad to two young kids, Leo and Maya. His world was, board games, pizza nights, and just laughter. And then, just like that, everything changed. I mean, just look at the contrast here. The life he'd so carefully built was just taken apart, piece by sickness and grief. What was left was this hollowed-out shell of what it used to be. And on top of all that emotional devastation came a financial apocalypse. The fight to save Sarah had cost them everything, every penny. David, a guy who used to teach kids about the economics of fallen empires, was now living in the ruins of his own. The numbers were just crushing. And this is when it all becomes painfully real. It's not about numbers on a page anymore. It all came down to one sentence from his 8-year-old son, Leo. "My shoes are too tight, Dad. My toes hurt when I walk." Suddenly, it wasn't about foreclosure notices. It was about something as simple and as basic as buying his kid a new pair of shoes. And he couldn't do it. Desperation makes you consider things you would never, ever dream of. And for David, that moment came when he walked by this gym. The smell, sweat, and bleach. And he saw a flyer that was about to change his life and his kids' lives forever. $2,000. That was the number on the flyer. Now, to the fighters inside that gym, that was just prize money. But to David, that was survival. That was the mortgage payment that was 3 months late. It was groceries for the week. And yeah, it was a new pair of shoes for Leo. It was a lifeline, and he had to grab it. So when the gym owner, a guy named Marcus, warned him, "You're going to get hurt," David's response just says it all. He wasn't afraid of the physical pain. How could he be? He was already living with a pain so deep that a black eye or a broken rib, it just seemed trivial in comparison. That emotional agony, it actually became his armor. And the transformation was, well, it was agonizing. Marcus, the gym owner, he didn't just train David. He actively tried to break him. Sprints until he was sick, drills until his hands bled. This soft-spoken academic was being systematically reforged into a weapon, one painful piece at a time. This really just captures the insane tightrope he was walking every single day. One minute, he's in a classroom explaining the fall of the Roman Empire to teenagers. The next, he's in the faculty bathroom trying to cover up a fresh bruise with concealer before his next class. He was living two completely separate, violent realities at the exact same time. So he won that first tournament. He bought the shoes. But that $2,000 was just a Band-Aid on a gaping wound. He knew he had to keep fighting. And just like that, the professor was born. He started as this gimmick on the local fight circuit, but he very quickly proved he was anything but. And just look at this timeline. This wasn't some brief detour. This was a 4-year war. He starts as this desperate amateur at 34, and by 38, an age where most fighters have long since retired, he's a world title contender. Every single step on this path was earned through just pure, unbreakable will. The ledger of his new career really tells the whole story, doesn't it? On one side, the wins were real and tangible, an undefeated record, some financial security. But the costs, they were immense. He had to give up the career he loved, and he literally sacrificed his own body, piece by piece, just to build a future for his kids. This was the moment everything changed for him publicly. After this stunning upset victory in the big leagues, he gave this raw, honest post-fight interview, and it just went viral. He wasn't just another fighter anymore. He became a symbol, a working-class hero fighting for something way bigger than a championship belt.
And so it all led here. Madison Square Garden, a shot at the World Championship. And his opponent? Jackson the Reaper Stone, a guy who was younger, faster, stronger, and undefeated. This was it. This was David's last ride, his one chance to secure his family's future forever.
I mean, the contrast here could not be more dramatic. You've got the grizzled veteran versus the young killer, the man who's fighting to feed his family against the man who's fighting for fame. It was a classic David versus Goliath story playing out inside a steel cage. So what was the strategy? His corner knew he couldn't outstrike the champion. He had to outlast him. The plan was to make it an ugly war of attrition, a battle of wills. He had to drag Stone into a place of pain and exhaustion he had never, ever been before. And those first few rounds were brutal to watch. David absorbed a beating that would have ended any other fight. His nose was shattered, his face was just a mask of blood. The champion was putting on a clinic. But something really strange started to happen. And this is the whole thing right here. He refused to go down, he wouldn't even take a step back. With every thunderous shot he took, he would just plant his feet and move forward, crowding the champion, making it this ugly, grueling, close-quarters fight. And you could literally see the champion's confidence just start to crack. By the time they got to the fourth round, the whole tide of the fight had turned. The young, ferocious champion, he was exhausted. He was confused. And for the very first time in his career, he looked scared. He'd hit this old man with his best shots, and the old man just kept coming. The champion made one tired, sloppy mistake, and David seized his chance. He locked in a choke, squeezing with every last ounce of strength in his body, channeling 4 years of pain and grief and love into that one final hold. And then, the champion tapped. It was over. He didn't celebrate. He didn't even cheer. He just collapsed. And when they handed him the microphone, the new champion of the world, he didn't thank any sponsors, he didn't call out any rivals. He just looked into that camera and spoke right to his children. He had kept his promise. They were finally safe. A promise paid for, not with money, but with absolutely everything he had.